I am back in a dangerous world of vintage story, where I will be spending another 100 days uncovering the biggest mystery woven into the fabric of this world. I will meet mysterious figures that may or may not help along the way, and go deep down into old forgotten ruins that tell a story of suffering and misery. This time I will try not only to survive this horror, but thrive with the help of new machinery, new materials, and new companions. And I will need every little bit of help I can get, because there is a shadow lurking at the other side of the world, waiting to devour whatever remains of this forsaken place. And this is precisely where I am headed. On the first day, I woke up confused. It's been a while since the last time I played, so I had no memory of what the hell is going on. So for the first couple of minutes I was walking around and trying to pick things up where I last left them off, and since I was literally starving, I had to eat a bit of raw grain. Yummy. I took some firewood from my stockpile and started cooking my first proper meal today. A carrot stew. Yeah, we are going all Gordon Ramsay up the spot today. And since cooking takes a moment, I decided to gather some honey from my bee farm. Only 2 moments later realized that I had not left a single beehive intact, meaning that I effectively destroyed my honey production in the first couple of minutes after coming back to this world. Nice. I still had some spare clay and cattails to make some more, in hopes that some of the angered bees may be settling in one of them, but I don't think that's how it works. Meaning that I have to again steal some wild bees from my local bee tree. But hey, at least my nutritious stew made from exclusively carrots is ready. After dinner I squeezed some honey I gathered while genociding my bee farm, and put it into the barrel outside, now being proudly full of 6 liters of honey, and right next to it a ready batch of compost. That thing was cooking here since previous video I think, so I grabbed my iron tools I made last time and went out to check up on my crops. And not gonna lie, they don't look so great after winter, or maybe I forgot to take care of them last time, but let's agree that it was probably winter, probably. So I gathered whatever was left from them, mostly seeds, but hey, it's not looking so bad now. I decided to plant some flax, which is going to play a huge role soon, but also some grain stuff for baking bread. And since the climate here is weird, a bunch of turnips. Window for them to grow is very slim here, so I wanted to make sure I grow them whenever I can. And now the farm looks like an actual farm. Right away I gathered some cattails and crafted an empty reed's cap to catch some of them bees again. And sure enough, I left the bee stealing unit right in the same spot as last time when I had to do it, although last time was under a bit less embarrassing circumstances. And hey, since I play on the testing branch we have the new fluffy clouds, looking kinda nice. Since there was more tending to my abandoned house to be done, I gathered some grass and fed my animals, for the first time in actual months probably, and the excess I put next to the pens, because it looks cool. Then I grabbed my old trusty bronze axe. I honestly don't remember when I made it, but its time has come now. I will need a lot of oak wood specifically, and since I am cutting oaks, I might as well get some acorns. And make sure that I have my own supply of oaks growing around. And while I was out looking for even more oaks, I noticed a trader I marked earlier. And apparently I have an agricultural supplier here. Might be useful sooner or later, but then I found the perfect tree. The biggest 4x4 tree trunk I have ever laid my eyes upon. And this bad boy will do for now. I got back home and brought the couple stacks of oak wood with me. Right on time before night, which seems a bit more dark than I remember. Sounds in the darkness. And in the morning I cut some grass to feed my animals again, and began my favorite process in vintage story. Making flour, then dough, and then cooking it until it becomes bread. And the smell must have attracted local pastry lovers, which seemed to salivate at the sole idea of eating my bread and apparently my wooden door. But after a bit of patience, and after sharing my hospitality with the hungry, I had a whole shelf full of freshly baked spelt bread, necessary for what I have to do tomorrow. Next morning I fixed up my old trusty gambeson armor, which still remembers the horrors of archives, ate the yummy carrot breakfast, and headed east, in search of the most legendary, rare and valuable resource in the game. Limestone. See, limestone is necessary for leather making, which will play an essential role in my further progression. The only problem being, it's really freaking hard to find sometimes. So I traveled eastwards, through familiar sheep steppes, looking for a distinct sandy colored rock. And of course grabbing whatever wild flax I could find, that's important too. And honestly, as far as I traveled, I still couldn't really find anything. 99% of that strata I found was granite, and if you see granite, you most likely will not see limestone anywhere near. And sometimes I couldn't see anything at all. It started getting light and progressively darker and darker. I decided to climb a small hill, and since the area seemed mostly devoid of any dangers, I set up a little travel camp for the night, alone, in the granite hellscape. And as soon as the sun rose above the distant hills, I continued. And after a while, I have some good news and some bad news. Good news is, the granite biome has ended. Bad news is, the next one is peridotite biome, which also does not feature limestone in like 99% of the cases. So I decided to modify my plans. Instead of spending days looking for limestone, I will go and dig out borax, which I marked on my map, right next to the resonance archives. And the adventure continues. This time without camping to not waste precious in-game time, even if I have to fight my way through most of the time. And in the morning I continued, at least until I got viciously attacked by wolves right next to my destination. Did I disturb their sleep on purpose? Maybe. But now I have some more skins to bring back home, and I will definitely need those if my borax/limestone adventure is successful. But hey, look, it's the Resonance Archives Mountains. And just as predicted, the cousin of Lorax is here. Borax. So I started digging it out, and since this place is really far from my home, I would rather spend some time here, but bring a lot rather than have to come back several times. And thankfully, there is quite a bit of it here. Borax for days. I also prospected the area in hopes for a high borax saturation, but no, these borax deposits are more like an anomaly here. I swam back up, since I guess I managed to dig far enough to get under the little lake here, and noticed it's getting late, and I am pretty far from home. So I started dwarfing my way into the closest dirt mound. I made a little 2x2 hole, even made my favorite totally reliable crude doors just to be cool, and now I have literally the most fancy wall hole on the side of the Resonance Archives. Next morning I immediately started mining more borax. I also noticed that this time I was losing a lot of my temporal stability, for seemingly no reason, as I really wasn't that deep underground, to be honest. And that of course means random drifters appearing out of thin air sometimes. And after a while of digging, my pickaxe started looking pretty rough. It's going to break soon. And that's how I knew it was time to slowly head home. And on my way I noticed some of my first ruins of this playthrough. Not much in them, apart from some seeds, I guess, and so I continued home, since, you know, it is a couple thousand blocks away. But hey, ta-da! Through magic of editing we're basically at home. My W key is screaming in agony. The whole journey brought me 4.5 stacks of borax and some flax seeds, which of course have to be planted ASAP. I'm going to need a lot of it and it grows kinda slow, so better sooner than later. And borax? Well, borax goes into the grinder to make it into borax powder. You're gonna see why. So I went outside and filled a barrel with water. And then threw 20 powdered borax right inside, which by the way is much more efficient than 50 limestone that is usually needed for this. And now we have this, full barrel of diluted borax, a perfect substitute for lime water to process animal skins. So now I had an idea. I grabbed some planks from the outside and climbed the ladder to my so far unused attic. I built it last time, but never found any use for it. But now I put some barrels there, then I built a little construction to hold water for the ease of access, and began filling up the barrels. Attic now officially is going to be the place where I mass produce leather throughout this playthrough. And since it was already morning, I started up my little forge. And by the magic of smithing, I made a couple tin bronze nails. Then made some chests. And then, since a lot of you guys mentioned it under the last 100 days, I connected them into wooden trunks. Thanks, I had no idea how this works. I put them outside and holy, they are huge. And I guess they seem to hold more space than two regular chests, so that's efficiency. And then I just went back to grinding borax. Processing leather is no joke, and I will need a lot of it soon, you will see. But hey, actually, I have a lot of borax, but not that many animal skins. I don't know why, but I really thought I had it stored somewhere from last time. But since that's not the case, I fired up the forge again, and began my usual hunt preparations. A couple of bronze spears never hurt anybody, you know, and oh wow, they float as well. Well, to the water you go, floaty spearhead. But then I remembered that there are bows in the game. I never really made one, and as of now I am lacking some resources for it anyway. But I guess this spear hunt should provide me not only with some skins, but also animal fat needed for a bow. And on the hunt, the first target is of course a bear. Not my first choice, but well, he's already angry. And after tacking several of my spears to the head, it still took a couple of slashes with a sword to actually finish him off. And oh, the bear hides now come with the bear head. I will have to look into this later, because instantly after, I got attacked by wolves. Another animal to the skin collection, I guess. The hunt continued. I was genuinely looking for any kind of animal at this point, so I threw spears at local bighorns, threw spears with great precision at female bighorns, threw spears at sheep, which made them clearly very upset. But while I was doing all that, I actually heard an elk in the distance. An elk that maybe I can turn into my own horse. So I sneakily made my way closer, and maneuvered my way around them. I needed to herd one right to my base, which honestly isn't that far away. And after a while of running and scaring the ever-loving borax out of this guy, I managed to get him kind of close. But I needed a pen first, otherwise I can't really capture him anywhere. I took some wooden fences from my little stockpile here, and started building a pen right next to the bee pen. I also gathered some dirt for the ramp, because animals in Vintage Story have to be Need for Speeded over the fence somehow. And now I can't see anything. Took me a while to do all of this stuff, huh? There is absolutely no point for me to look for him now, I guess. I just know he's somewhere there. So I went to sleep, hoping for the best. And in the morning I deconstructed some of the things that may obscure my future's horse's path to the pen ramp thingy. Including some trees, but also my old pit kiln rain preventer. And this time, yep, ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Nice. Nice. We've got him.
I have a horse now. Or I will, I don't know. A truly beautiful specimen. Blends right in with the rest of my animals. Especially the bees. And now it's finally time to count the spoils. This hunt has net me a bunch of animal skins, some meat, and of course some animal fat. I went to the attic to turn all the barrels with water into barrels with borax, and put all the skins to soak. And then celebrated my little adventure with one of the most overpowered dishes in Vintage Story, meat stew with cabbage. Very Eastern European. But then I read somewhere that all my pain with the horse capturing was for nothing. Horses cannot be tamed when already grown up. Taming works only with the young, which are captured thanks to this amazing contraption, a crate trap. So I decided to give that idea a go as well. So I smote some nails and built one. I left the house and... apparently my would-be horse is able to summon temporal rifts at a whim. But anyway, I went back to the place I spotted the wild horses. I left the trap there, in hopes of capturing a youngling rather quickly, and all I had to do was wait. So I wandered around, killed more wolves for their hides, and did some ruin raiding. This time focusing mostly on digging out bony soil, which can drop many valuable things if subjected to panning in water. Think of it like loot boxes, but Vintage Story edition. But while I was digging some, I discovered that under ruins there are sometimes hidden rooms. I actually didn't know that, and in the ruins themselves there actually weren't that many goodies. But hey, now I know that hidden rooms are a thing. I came back to check on the trap and nope, no horses in sight. So I made my way back, and since I was in the vicinity, I checked up on the bee stealing scab, and it worked. It is populated. I put it back on its place to finally continue my so far halted honey production. I also checked up on my borax barrels, and just as I thought, the hides are ready. So I took them out from the barrel and scraped them with a knife, providing me with, well, scraped hides. And now I put more barrels in the attic, fill them up with water, and put some finely useful oak logs inside. This way, in 24 hours I will get something called weak tannin, where I will put the scraped hides to soak some more. And since I never explained it, the leather making process is quite simple. You put hides in borax/limestone water to soak for a day, then scrape them with a knife and put them into a barrel with weak tannin for a couple of days. After that, put them into strong tannin. And after a couple of days of that, we should have a batch of leather ready for use. Next morning I tried to milk my bighorn, the sheep animal I mean, but I had no idea how to do that. There was no prompt and Bucket didn't seem to do anything. So instead I went and gathered my now ready turnips, netting me around 2 stacks. Then proceeded to go and scrape more hides, before I went out to check on my horse trap again. But no luck. And while following copper breadcrumbs like a headless chicken, I noticed a hole. And in that hole, 2 horses. I mean, elks. Anyway, I marked this location as Elk Hole, and I decided that it is definitely a great idea to put my trap here, since I need a baby elk, and those 2 stuck in a hole are a man elk and a lady elk. So I left them to it, just kinda hoping for, you know. I came back home and put even more barrels in the attic. Those are going to be for the weak tannin. And the barrels with weak tannin that are already here, well, I put more oak in them to make them into strong tannin. And soon, this attic is going to be producing so much leather, I will hardly know how to spend it. Fantastic. Next morning I woke up to my first temporal storm in this playthrough, and honestly, it's best to treat them like a heavy rain in real life. Sit at home and play some video games. The only difference being that I don't have any video games in here, so I guess grinding more borax will do. And hey, look, it's Dave. So many of you guys answered my question who that is, and apparently it's Dave. That brings more questions than answers. After the storm passed, I went out to the agricultural trader I met last time. He wanted to buy a tin bronze scythe and a tin bronze knife. And you know what? It is high time I started trading with the locals. So I went home and started blasting. 1 scythe and 1 knife. I quickly went back to the trader and he literally just changed the stock he wants to buy. Just wow. Not gonna lie fellows, I kinda feel scammed right now. So I went to another trader, our beloved Kino the clothes merchant, just to check up on the stock he buys. But not much here either. He buys flax stuff, but I need flax stuff, so no deal. And on my way home, this happens. Oh. Another skin to the collection, even if my pants feel slightly heavier. But you know what? I'm tired of risking my life in melee combat. At home I have 3 flax twine, which is exactly how much I need for a bow. So with a saw I cut 2 logs to make a bow stave, and then put it on the wall to dry, because yes, a bow stave has to dry over a couple of days. And now, well, I guess we wait. And you know what's the best way to spend some downtime? Panning the bones of the dead in search of valuables. So that's what I did for hours, until dark. And one of the things I found in the bones was a book. It's the confession of someone who led a group of people into a nightmarish place, promising salvation but delivering only darkness, hunger and decay. They speak like a fallen prophet, worshipped as a savior, even as the people succumb to rot, starve and live in filth. The worshippers cling to the author for hope, offering scraps of food, while the leader secretly recoils in horror at what's become of them. In the end, the author begs God for help, as if they are trapped in their own creation. Scary stuff. Honestly, I love the lore of this game, so if you have any explanation for the stuff I read or see, please leave a comment with explanations. But now, on the shelf the book goes. In the morning I went through more stuff I found in the bones, and one of them was a little emerald. Maybe I will be able to sell it somewhere. So I went to the nearest luxury trader, and sure enough he buys... well, never mind. He wants a rough diamond like mine, but with higher potential. Well, that's unfortunate. So I left, and decided to go to my next target for some gears. A treasure hunter. Same one who gave me the Resonance Archives map last time during my first 100 days. And hey, while he doesn't buy emeralds, he does want several things I can easily make. Like a bronze pick, some candles, flax and spelt bread and some cooked meat. So I excitedly noted all of that in the chat. But first, when I got home, I put all scraped hides I had into the weak tannin mixture. I cannot waste time on this. The sooner I do those things the better, since they take literally in-game days to soak. But after that I started my trading journey. I baked some spelt and flax bread, made some candles in my old candle pot, and forged a tin bronze pickaxe. I was actually excited to finally sell some goods I made to someone else for profit, and in the morning I had all I needed, so I began my journey back to the merchant. And on my way I noticed a bear, which to me at that point looks like a walking animal hide dispenser. But then, to my surprise, I got actually mauled to death despite landing many good hits. I respawned and ran straight to my dev spot. And after grabbing my things, I threw myself into the jaws of combat once again, but this time I had the power of water on my side.
Oh my god.
Still though, it took much more hits than I anticipated. I probably shouldn't underestimate bears anymore. Sometimes they die in 5 hits, sometimes in 25. So I made my way back to the trader and sold him my wares with the beautiful sound of... And now I had exactly 50 gears. That number is important, but I didn't know it yet, so shush. You will see later. And apparently the merchant can sell me an elk for 100 gears. And that is a lot of gears for someone who just made like 13 after a whole day of hard work. So next morning, as soon as the sun started beautifully blasting through my dirty windows, I went out for some dungeon scavenging runs to maybe find some stuff for selling. And just like that, I found some old ruins in a cave nearby. But unfortunately, apart from a couple of cobwebs, there wasn't much there. Well, I guess apart from this aged crate, which honestly is just a worse chest. I went deeper into the cave, lured by the gears sometimes spawning on the surface of the rocks, and found some saltpeter on the walls, good fertilizer for crops. But then a bit deeper, I found this.
Ooh. What is this?
An absolutely harrowing experience. I mean, just look at that. I got absolutely driven out of there.
They're chasing me.
I marked the location of that place as a bell dungeon. Since I never really saw a bell enemy just hanging out like this in the world, I assumed those were reserved for story dungeons. I guess I was wrong. And my poor Gambeson armor took some hits as well. And after that fight I really didn't want to deal with darkness anymore. So I came back home and replaced all burnt out torches with oil lamps, since they are really easy to make and never go out. Quality of life, people. They don't give that much light, but they will do for now. I will need a replacement soon though. Then I checked up on my animal hides from the weak tannin batch and they are ready. Now I put them into strong tannin, and after 4.5 days I should have a whole ass batch of leather ready for anything. And since I'm still waiting for the bow stave to dry, I thought that I might as well make some more of them. You know, in case I lose my bow or something. So now I have a full rack of bows getting slowly ready for use. And they do take a while to dry, so it's always good to have a replacement if anything happens. After that I took my trusty iron shovel and went for some ruin hunting. I wanted to see if I can find any of them hidden rooms under some of the local ruins, you know? And of course stumbling upon an occasional bear never hurts, especially when there is water nearby. And after skinning this bear I realized that I might as well see what can be made with this new bear head stuff. And wow, there is a completely new set of armor added in this update. I need to have it. I need to have it. And after more ruin digging, I did manage to find some hidden rooms. Got hit in the face by a cracked vessel and desecrated some mass burial sites. I mean, I just cannot resist that bony soil, you know? It's way too bony. And just as I was heading home to do more bone soil panning, I noticed a weird ass tree in the distance. It was an apple tree. And you know, the fruit trees are a completely different mechanic altogether that I never really interacted with. So I cut it and took it home with me. I got some apple tree cuttings from it, which apparently can be planted. So I guess we are going to have some apple trees, maybe. It got super dark super quickly, so I headed home, slowly making my way through the darkness. At home I oiled up the bear skin to cure it, since that's necessary for the armor parts, and then went outside and planted my tree cuttings I just got from my little ruin adventure. And honestly, apparently they have like 30% chance to just straight up die and not grow, so that's reassuring. But now back to the bony dirt. The previous looting run net me 26 bony soils, and given that each can be panned several times, that equals a hell of a lot panning in the future. But I did get yet another book. It's a story about the same man as last time, I believe, talking about how his workers are excited that the project they are working on is coming to a completion. But the author does not share their excitement. He knows that the creation should not have been created. he doesn't understand it anymore. And he believes that maybe it would have been better if they all have surrendered to the rot and died. He says that the other world he sees through the lens, it is seeping into this one. His vision sometimes shifts into this otherworldly and strange plane of existence. And one of the eidolons 2 shifts ago has been found with blood on its plates. The men believe it was an accident, but the author knows better. But apart from this calming story, I got a bunch of other goodies. And after that I went to check up on my bow stay thingy. And sure enough, it is dry. Ignore the rain. So finally, after over 100 days, I remembered to make a bow. I am absolutely ready now to take on anything that the world throws at me, from a distance. So I went to the forge and started making some bronze arrowheads. And that logically led to making a couple of my first arrows. The only problem being, I am pretty low on feathers. So I went outside and started digging a hole. The plan was to capture some chickens the same way I captured my adult useless elk. So scare them into a hole and have chickens in a hole. And after digging, I grabbed my bow and arrows and went to the location where I saw chickens the last time. Several months ago. And the weather was pretty terrible. Looking for small chickens in a dark and milky fog was not the greatest idea. So I gave up rather quickly and just went home. And in the morning, still raining. I mean, the rain season here lasts like years, I guess. Really good for plants, not so great for anything else. But I did go and try to look for chickens again, just to find a wolf. A sign that any chickens I might have seen around here are probably not very alive right now. But hey, I was kind of close to the elk hole, so I might as well check if any baby elk got captured. But no, I guess the idea will not work after all. I'm gonna need a different way to get myself a rideable elk. So on my way home I noticed some target dummies, I mean sheep, and decided to test out my new bow on them. Listen, I might or might not have a terrible aim, but if I get chickens, this will not be a problem, cause I will have a million arrows to accommodate for my lack of skill.
Nice.
And at home, the bear pelt has been cured. So I cut off the bear's head with my bare hands, and with it I made myself a brand new black bear helmet. And with the rest of the bear hide, I made the black bear hide body armor. Yeah. And while it might not be better than what I have now, it does look kinda cool. You know, a sign of status over our bear overlords. But still, I decided to wear it for a bit now, so on the mannequin the old armor goes. And in the morning it started hailing. Mind you, it is 26 Celsius or 78 Fahrenheit outside. But even that will not affect my mood, because the first batch of leather is ready. And since I've been dying for that elk ride, first thing I made was a saddle and an elk medallion. Apart from that, I made a leather helmet, leather body armor and leather leg armor. Because full set of leather armor is a necessary base ingredient to any heavier metal armor in the future. And after all that, I gave up. You won, guys. I am making candles for lanterns crafting. Please stop screaming at me for being a dum-dum. So I forged some bronze plates and went to my local quartz shop to buy some quartz. And by shop I mean a cave, and by buy I mean mine it by hand. And after that I went home to get absolutely jump scared by a bear.
Oh, you god, dude.
Again, I mean, I swear it's the same spot as last time. His ghost has tried to avenge him or something, I don't know.
Jesus.
And at home I combined all necessary ingredients into a beautiful creation that is a lantern. And it is bright, I tell you, very bright. This might be my new favorite thing ever. And from now on, all candles that I made are going straight into metal and quartz casings. Effective immediately. I need more lanterns. They are so cool. Why haven't I made it earlier? I have no idea. I had no idea they exist. I'm really sorry. And they don't go out even when it rains, which is honestly my favorite part. But now it is time to check on my crops. Some of the flax was ready, and all of the cabbages, but I cannot craft linen from cabbages, so let's focus on the flax. After making the linen, I combined it with sticks to make sails. You will see why soon. And while gathering more of my crops, I got hit with a surprise temporal storm. Yikes. Although it does look kinda cool when you just take it all in like that, in the middle of your crop fields, you know? Well, still, I just kind of had to wait it out inside as usual. Next morning I realize I don't have enough resin for the project I'm planning on building. so I guess I have to go for a little resin scavenging run. And to get resin I had to go to the nearest pine forest, since pine trees are the only ones that can spawn it. And hey, I already found my first one. And that was honestly it. I really couldn't find more around here for some reason. So I wandered for a bit, and then, of course, I got absolutely ambushed by another bear. Oh. I mean, what is it? 5th time? 6th?
I need some water. Well, that's too little water. Ah.
So I couldn't use my usual strategy. So in a split second of courage I decided that switching to my side bow is actually faster than reloading my sword. And of course, I started blasting this man with every bronze arrow I had. And honestly, this went way better than I thought. I love this bow.
That was clutch. Holy.
This bow can take on anything, I guess. I cut up the bear for the future leather and gathered all the arrows laying around. Then I shot a random deer because, well, sorry, why not? And hey, it is getting dark, but I have a lantern, and I still need resin. So I decided to continue my resin hunt despite it getting progressively more and more pitch black. And as soon as I approached the next pine forest, I got attacked by a pack of wolves. God, this place is peaceful, huh? And believe me, there were a lot of wolves here.
My god.
One after another, they tried to eat me alive. Well, I guess I can't say no to more animal hides. And after all this fighting, I started gathering some more resin. And each time I did, I marked the location for future use, since resin respawns in the same spots. And you could say that I defeated this resin wolf forest. I had a very nice stay here for the night, but it's time to get home. That run net me 6 additional resins, which is okay. I know that this doesn't seem like a lot, but it should be enough for starters. And I also got a couple of skins for absolutely decimating the local population of wolves, so I finally can begin my little project. Automation using the energy of the wind. I made a couple of axles from wood and fat, a couple of angled gears, a health hammer base, toggle, and then don't forget the actual health hammer head. And then connected it with some planks into an actual health hammer. And now I had all of this here, pretty much ready to go and harvest the wind energy and automate some things. Apart from the fact that this is actually not all. And I guess I am actually short on resin again, since I need this huge gear for my plan to work. And so I went back to the forest. Got attacked by a bear, gathered some more resin, got almost killed by a bunch of wolves.
Of course.
Again, gathered more resin, and some more resin.
Another one.
And found chickens. What? Wait, what?
I found chickens!
So I tried scaring the rooster towards my home. And then...
Oh my... He just jumped to death.
Well, scratch that idea, huh? The chicken would rather test if it can fly rather than be my pet. So then I got attacked by wolves again, but thankfully in water. And after a rough day and a half, I came back home with hopefully enough resin. So I crafted the sections of the huge gear, then the gear itself, and then a windmill rotor. And for a test run I took my home quern, attached some axles to it, angled everything correctly, attached the rotor, and then the sails. And holy, this thing is spinning! This is one of the most beautiful sights right now. I have harnessed the winds. So I went to my granary to take some grain and put it in the now automated quern. And sure enough, it is milling automatically. But that was only a test run. Now let's focus on doing it on a bigger scale. I need to build something bigger to make use of this power. So I made my way into the weird granite mountains just south of my base and started digging granite, since I will need a lot of it. Then I dug out some clay because it is necessary to turn the granite stones into actual placeable blocks. And then I started heading home. And you know what? I think I finally figured out why it always rains. Well, if you look closely, you'll notice there is a huge, perfectly placed rain cloud sitting right above my house. And nowhere else, just constantly forming there. Cool. And yep, it is raining. At home I made all the cobblestone I could and started looking for a location for my new building I wanted to build. I guess behind my house is good enough. I made some space by cutting trees and placed the first couple of blocks to mentally calculate how big it should be. I was building without any plan, and as always just freestyling the entire thing. I placed some walls made out of cobble and immediately got attacked by some drifters, since I guess a rift just opened right behind my building site.
Oh my god.
So I decided to continue the next day, and wow, some of my grafted trees actually sprouted.
Whoa. What's going on?
I dug some space for floors, finished up some walls, and I decided that I guess this should probably be a mill, so I need to go higher than that. So I started building up, making a sort of oak skeleton to have an idea how tall and what shape the mill should be. And believe me, from this perspective it did look pretty tall. Also, did you see that freaking lightning behind me? Crazy stuff. Anyway, the height seemed alright. The taller the mill, the better, but I also have to keep in mind the material cost of the whole thing. And since I clearly could not pay attention to one thing at a time, I started making some oak paths and placed them all around the place. As far as I know, they look a bit different in this version of the game. Kinda cool, no? And they speed you up too.
I think they increase the speed, but I'm not sure. But I think they do.
Efficiency. Anyway, I kept on building the mill, adding some more height. And at the end of the day, it didn't look half bad. But for the rest of the day, I was occupied by baking bread. We can't build and gather materials on an empty stomach now, can we? And while the bread was baking, I decided to be efficient and build some fire clay bloomeries. And of course, smelt some iron inside of them. I don't need the iron right away, but believe me, I will need to become an actual iron baron to satisfy the iron consumption I will soon have. Next morning, I started running out of planks, so I went to the nearest forest to get some more oak wood.
Ooh, that's an oak. Nice.
And really, there is nothing as satisfying as felling a huge oak tree in this game, even if it takes a moment to do. And after that, I continued building the wooden skeleton, and filling in the walls either with cobblestone or with oak boards. And at the top I had to make this little floor for all the mechanisms I need to put there. And the mill looks, well, it looks for sure, huh? I took the rotor and axles from the outside test site and crafted a couple more rotors for future-proofing the mill. Then I started assembling all the stuff at the top floor, connecting the sails, and there it goes. Works like a charm. Then I put the huge gear thingy on the ground and connected it with the angled gears to the spinning windmill rotor. And as predicted, it spins. Now we need a place to transfer all that energy. So I put axles below and connected the top gear to the bottom second gear. And ladies and gents, we have energy transfer from top to bottom. Yes, I know I'm a genius. Don't clap, please. The mill is working and it looks, well, it might need some improvements in the visual department, but hey, it works. So now I took my anvil and forge from the house and went to the mill. Time to start experimenting with the health hammer for smithing automation. So I put down the health hammer base, then the toggle, and then attached the hammer itself to the base. Underneath the hammer head I put my anvil and connected the whole thing to the mill system. And it might need more power, not sure. It is working, slowly, but it is. But hey, that's why I future-proofed the mill. So I went to the back of the mill and added the spare sail to the back rotor. And now I have a mill with a huge windmill on one side and a small baby windmill on the other. That has to do for now. I took whatever was left in the old forge and started setting up my new forge here, in the mill. And of course, no building is ever truly great without a door. So here we go. And of course, there is some kinks to iron out, like windows and some details. But that will come soon, don't worry. But for now, my old forge is standing empty, and the new forge is now fully operational. And that is what matters the most. Harnessing the wind is officially complete. The automation forge mill is ready for action, even if it is a bit blocky looking. And hey, look at that, my iron is ready, perfectly in time. Now we have about 30 iron blooms to work with, which I have to turn into a brand new armor. So I began my work in the new forge, but now, hey, I don't have to manually hit the blooms with a hammer. Health hammer makes ingots from iron blooms automatically, but it still wasn't enough for me, so I made a few more sails and connected them to my already existing mill to squeeze a bit more power from them. And this is when I realized that no amount of sail will help if there's just no wind. So I have to keep that in mind. So my first bloom forging actually required me to do it manually. So much for power of the wind, huh? So for now, I decided to do something else now, like beekeeping and squeezing honey straight into a barrel. And since I already have 11 liters of honey, I guess I might as well just seal it and start making alcohol. I mean, why not? It takes ages anyway. And then I went on to replant all the flax in my farm, because I still need lots of flax for more sales. I have 2 more free spots for rotors after all. But I have also tended to the leather stuff. I do it pretty consistently, even when I don't show it. Leather doesn't make itself, you know? And hey, it's not raining. How is that possible? Nice weather for once? Here? But everything comes with drawbacks. Well, nice weather means no wind. So instead, I read somewhere that if you make reed basket traps, you can actually capture chickens in them. No need for a huge hole in the ground. So I gathered some cattails and made a couple of baskets. Added sticks, and here we go, a basket trap. But apparently you also need a bait. For chicken specifically, it will be grain. That probably also applies to my elk trap, but hey, I had no idea. In the morning I left all my inventory expanding items at home, because baskets with chickens work like, kind of like bee caps with wild bees. They take the same 4 spots. And because of that, my inventory space is pretty limited. So I do have to focus solely on finding chickens and preferably bringing them home. So I went northeast this time, to the Great Plains. I really needed to find those chickens, otherwise I just cannot make arrows for my bow. And the area I'll be searching is quite large as well, so it won't be easy. And since Vintage Story is extremely easy to mod, I actually installed a binoculars mod just for this chicken search. Now I'll be able to spot stuff from a bit further away than usual.
Chicken. I said chicken.
And just like that, it was actually much easier than I thought. I made my way to the chickens I just spotted and set up some traps with the grain in them. And literally moments later I caught my first hen.
I don't think I actually caught him. I caught one.
And that was much easier than I thought. I built a little dirt tower and kept my eyes on the traps from a distance. And after a minute or two I already had 3 chickens captured. The only problem being I could not spot any roosters. This was a group of chickens consisting solely of hens somehow, and that just doesn't work for me, since that means I cannot multiply them and slaughter them for feathers when I bring them home. And as if by a stroke of an absolute titanical luck, I ran into another group of chickens, much closer to my home, and a rooster. But I could not capture him just yet. I came back home and filled up the chicken hole, fenced the area off, and released the chickens I did capture. And immediately after, went back to the place where I spotted the rooster. And at first, I could not see them, well, anywhere. But then, here they are. As before, I set up some traps with grain as bait, a lantern for visibility, and patiently waited. And we got him. And only the rooster too. The hens did not care whatsoever. I grabbed the trap and headed back home, with my trusty lantern lighting the way, of course. And I mean, whoever told me to make this, thanks. They glow even underwater, just wow, very helpful. Anyway, I released the rooster in the same pen as the hens, and my animal farm was looking pretty good. I built a couple of small throws, and some hen boxes for the eggs. And now the chicken cell is fully operational. You know, like Splinter Cell, but with chickens. The chickens are ready to give me feathers whenever I need them now. But now, do you remember this item? That's the Eidolon thingy I got from defeating the Eidolon in the archives. And apparently you can bring it to the treasure hunter for a massive discount on an elk. And apparently I need a bridle to steer the elk in the first place. So I crafted a bunch of nails and connected them with leather to make one. And now I have a saddle, a bridle, and an elk talisman. That should be all for the basic elk setup, I think. So I made my way to the trader. And hey, I don't know how true that discount is. I saw it somewhere on the forum. Worst case, I just got lied to on the internet.
It does cost 50. It actually does. Of course, by the elk. Seriously? Oh! Oh!
And indeed, I had an elk now. And best part, I somehow broke it and mounted it without the saddle, making me completely and utterly stuck. Absolutely nothing worked to dismount. And believe me, I tried all my keys on the keyboard, reloading the game, and even reinstalling ones. Holy. I was conjoined with this elk. He was like a brother to me now. So I used a magic command and went and died. Quickly came back, and hey, this time I managed to put on the saddle. But for the love of me I could not find a spot for the pendant, but at least now I could steer this guy. And riding was possible now. And hey, holy, he actually climbs mountains extremely efficiently, automatically climbing 2 blocks up, like nice. And I look absolutely fabulous with the elk reins in one hand and a turnip in the other. I got home extremely quickly, almost too quickly. And I still can't seem to be able to dismount. And after an hour of troubleshooting, it came down to a faulty mod I had installed. I should have probably seen it coming, given that this is a testing branch of the game, and the mod was for a previous full release version. Well, that's on me. But hey, the elk works now, and is fully functional, with the emphasis on fun. And I also managed to put a pendant on him. It's a forehead pendant type of thing, not a neck pendant type of thing. And damn, you can put a bow on him, are you kidding? And a sword too. Okay, I love him already.
Ooh, that's nice.
So a bit later I crafted some more of those oak path thingies and connected my main house with the mill. And since I'm doing some detail working, I added some placeholder windows to it as well. And now, the most exciting part is making more freaking iron. I worked iron blooms into ingots, then ingots into plates, and then from the iron plate finally made my first chain. A small but important step in armor making. And on day 36 I made more bloomeries. The 30 blooms I had before were not going to cut it for all the things I need to craft for my future adventures. And the work in the forge was going well. I needed to make enough chains for chainmail armor, which in itself is a step for more powerful armors that I will sooner or later need, like a full plate iron armor that I really and fully intend to make. And the main bottleneck currently is wood for charcoal, since the forge burns through it extremely fast now. And while I was looking for some wood, I think I might have created a wool baton. Well, hide is hide. But hey, wood is important and consistently consumed by an automation machine I have created. I cut up all the wood into firewood and created a couple of underground charcoal kilns by burning the buried firewood, and they should be producing charcoal pretty much non-stop from now on. All that to fuel the machinery. And since making the plates is now easy peasy with the elf hammer, I created a bunch of more lanterns and put them all up alongside the little wooden pathway from before. Now it looks kinda cool, and it is all lit up for some nightly walks from home to smithy. But for now I was still working iron blooms, some of which have just been created in the bloomeries. But each time I destroyed a bloomery, I lose a small amount of bricks forever. So I needed more fire clay to make more fire clay bricks for bloomeries, and for that I needed more and more flint. So I walked around and grabbed as many as I could. And honestly, elk also helped a lot and sped the process up pretty substantially. Then I took all the flint and cooked it all up in a fire pit. Then gathered some clay, since it is essential for making, well, fire clay. And since it does take a moment for the flint to cook, I went and checked up on my charcoal, and oh hey, my charcoal is ready. Yeah, I am doing 7 things at once currently while you're asking, but hey, next day smithy still works. Next batch of charcoal is cooking, and my calcined flint is ready. So now I grabbed the quern from the outside and swapped the huge gear in the mill for a quern, and started milling the cooked flint chunks. And since I'm already here in the smithy, might as well sell my soul to iron making again. And hey look, during my small break from smithing I noticed my chicken laid some eggs. This means more chickens soon. And as a reward I fed them, since well I think I forgot to do it for a couple of days now. I'm not the rancher they deserve, but I am the rancher they got. But hey, as a reward for myself, I'm going back to hammering metal. Even a temporal storm cannot stop me. Iron. But that whole mental struggle of holding my left mouse button for hours paid off. I have a whole pile of iron ingots now. Now I have to hammer a bit more to turn them into plates. But a break finally came. My calcined flint is all ground up, and that means I can make fire clay. And best part is, apparently you don't have to mix blue and red clay. One clay type works. And now I have more than enough fire clay in my stockpile. And while I was going to my prison, I mean forge, I noticed that some of the apple trees actually grew. Nice. And when it comes to the forge, my plate pile was also growing at a considerable pace, especially fast when the winds were generous. And a bit later I went to the attic to check up on my leather production, and another batch is ready. Now I have more leather than I know what to do with, and that's a huge win in my book. So I created saddlebags for my elk to give it the ability to have its own inventory space. Not to mention, they are pretty expensive to make, so I hope they work. I went up to my elk and put them on in the correct spot, and now it can carry things on its own. And that will help tremendously, since I am preparing for a longer journey soon. And by the way, the modularity of the elk is amazing. There is so many layers. But now back to my favorite thing. Iron working. Making chains from plates is actually pretty fast, thankfully. I was even able to make them more or less in bulk. And since I had more spare leather, and I carry a lot of things on me at all times, I made leather backpacks, as an improvement from my linen sacks. And now I have a bit more space to work with in my inventory. But now, the moment of truth. The last chain needed for my chainmail armor. So I went back to the main house to take the leather armor. And, well, apparently I didn't need the leather cap for that, but still. I made the chainmail helmet, chain body armor, chain leg armor, and this set should be enough to guarantee me surviving in the place I am headed to. And it is also objectively looking pretty medieval, and medieval equals cool. Not to mention it fits me like a glove, a chainmail glove. But now it is time for the last preparations before going to the next story location of the game, the Lazaret, which, well, is tens of thousands of blocks in the west. But before I got there, I wanted to fill up the emptiness left by my former forge in the house. So I rearranged a couple of things, including the oven and a couple of blocks, chiseled a bit to make it all seem a bit more cozy, and put up a couple of details here and there. And after a moment, I really had a completely renovated kitchen to cook in. Why did I have to do it before leaving? No clue. I just really wanted to. And now, I needed to make some travel bread. The more the better, of course. I cannot just starve halfway to the Lazaret. And then offed a couple of chickens to gather some feathers, hammered a couple of arrowheads, luxuriously from iron, and crafted as many iron arrows as I could. Better to not cheap out now, right before going to a second story dungeon. I will need every bit of additional damage I can get. And next day, early in the morning, I was ready. I crafted a bone flute for the elk. This way, I call him from wherever and he will come. I packed my sword, but also my bow and a tin bronze lamp, and my elk was ready basically for travel right away. But I also took some temporal gears, just in case I needed to set up my spawn point somewhere closer to the dungeon. I mean, you never know. And I was ready now. So I mounted up and left my house. The road will be long and full of adversities and struggles, but it is important that I uncover the full mystery of Vintage Story. What happened in Lazaret? What did we witness in the archives? And who is the old man and who are we as the player? Are we alone? The road was long and full of beautiful sights, and when it was getting dark, I needed to camp in the woods or on the mountain peaks. But always, and I mean always, on the move, and if not for this elk, I would not be able to make it ever. This animal is extremely fast and scales mountains without any issues. Even water and swimming was not an obstacle. But then, after taking a small break for a bread, I noticed huge ruins in the distance, much larger than usual. It seemed like a sort of a church, overgrown and in complete state of decay. I grabbed whatever I could. Thousands of blocks away from home, anything can come in useful. And while I was looking around for more loot, I noticed an overgrown entrance to a small chamber. It kind of looked like a mass grave. I dug down to uncover more skeletons and bones. Encouraged by finding a hidden chamber underground, I decided to check for the same surprise by digging under the main hall. And sure enough, there it was. A small chamber. Didn't seem to hold much, but I randomly mined behind one of the walls and uncovered another hidden room within this hidden room. A hidden room. An old ladder led me down into a hidden room with a painted vessel inside and what seemed like a chiseled stone coffin. Not much inside the vessel apart from some gloves and a gear, maybe belonging to the person buried here. So I took everything, including the vessel itself, and left. I had to make sure not to waste daylight, but the views were truly beautiful sometimes. Hard to just run through locations like this and not stop for a second. Some hundreds of blocks later, I noticed a lone trader right next to some ruined formation. Nothing unusual, but it's getting late and I need to sleep. But before going there, I still had some time to check out the ruins themselves, but this time no hidden rooms. So it was time to sleep, especially that this particular trader had an actual bed, lucky. At 5 AM, with the first light, I left to continue my travels, traversing vast and almost never-ending grasslands, cliff sides right above ruined cities, infinite plains of granite gravel overshadowed by a huge distant mountain. But then I noticed a weirdly colored rock I have not seen around here yet. It was a whole mountainside made completely out of limestone. I checked it out up close and realized I can't really dig it up yet. I am heading away from my home, after all, so I decided to come back here when I'm going to be heading back home. I needed as much limestone as possible, and this seemed like the only opportunity I will have, so I continued. Daylight running short, but I am very close now. Even rifts were opening up right in front of me as if to prevent me from getting to my destination. Creepy. But now Lazaret is only a couple of hundred blocks away, so I climbed a small hill and noticed a small Stonehenge-like ruin at the top. I decided to set up my camp here, just to gather strength before going into the dungeon. It really didn't help that the rifts were opening like crazy here, spawning all the atrocities imaginable. I sat on one of the pillars and waited. I am almost in the Lazaret. In the morning, I dug myself out of my little safety hole and left the camp ruins. Lazaret is right in this valley over there, very close. So I made my way down and arrived at the X marked on the map, but didn't see anything. I assumed that maybe it is underground, similarly to archives. So I began doing something I never done before. I decided to build a little hut made out of packed dirt. So I built a couple of walls, then a rudimentary roof, and dug out a couple of windows. And honestly, that really made me feel like my first night in Minecraft from like 15 years ago, preparing for the unknown. I put the safest doors this world has ever seen to top this whole thing off. And some wattle fences as windows. Then made a little fenced-off garden area because I'm fancy like that. And voila, my very own luxury dirt hut. I put my bed inside and lit up a fire for that cozy effect. And now the best part, set my spawn point here, in this hut, just in case. Then, since I am technically ready, I took my sword and my bow from the elk, and went out in search of any signs of the Lazaret dungeon. After walking around for a bit and seeing absolutely nothing, I noticed some cobblestone structure. It looked like some enclosed well, surrounded by some similar but smaller vents. Of course, unbreakable, there had to be an entrance close. And after a minute of walking around, I noticed a small ravine, and this might be it.
Let's go and see what's here. Apart from this boar. Is this it? I mean, it's really well hidden. Oh yeah, that seems like the appropriate place. What is this? Forlorn Hope Reliquary. Yo, this is some Indiana Jones stuff. I have a bow. And both of them are also down. I'm not going to lie. I barely entered and I'm already half HP. This is really not good. I didn't take any healing items. I'm actually so stupid. Why didn't I take any healing items? Oh, I can take all those things. Gold gear, silver gear. Are those drawings on the wall? Oh, really? Oh my god.
I left with tail between my legs. I prepared everything but healing items. Yikes. I went back to my dirt hut and slept most of my injuries off, but not fully. And since I woke up during a night, which in its own right is dangerous, I decided to wait until daylight to continue my Lazaret exploration. And then, at first light, let's go, I continued. A poor soul welcomes you with a smile. Inspect skeleton. It looks like it was attacked by something big. The body is missing an arm. Looks like it was torn off. More scribbles on walls. Jesus. I can hear a shiver. Wall carving lore. 6 out of 6. The stones blind me no longer. Oh, more bones. Skeletal arm. Oh, that other... Still holds a small object in its broken grasp. Some kind of missive. Faded but surprisingly preserved, given the circumstances. Approximate location of a village added to your world map. A village? A village? Okay, I guess this is the main thing that I had to find, right? A village. But I want to explore more of this Lazaret. I don't think there's a boss at the end. I think this is it. Forgotten Noble Mask. I'm gonna try to snipe him, maybe.
He's gonna attack me immediately. Oh my god. Please. That is pretty nice. Oh, there's more. There should be 3 more. I kind of recall something, what happened. The virus, I think, something to do with rust. And horrors beyond imagination, I guess. Oh, apparently I did not come into this room. 5 out of 6. I need 1 more. But where could it be? It's clay figurines worshipping something. It seems they were making a lot of things from clay here, especially figurines of different shapes and sizes. There has to be 1 more piece of lore. Maybe I can go here somehow. No, never mind. We can actually go down here, and this is the hand of the skeleton there. Oh, my guy. I got absolute shivers down my spine, it sent. A heavy temporal storm is approaching. I cannot stay here. Heavy temporal storm is going to absolutely demolish me here.
I could not find the last wall carving story, and because of the heavy temporal storm, I did not want to take any chances of staying in Lazaret for any longer. Most of the carvings were simple obituaries, others little stories carved on the wall. There was a mention of Alain, a count's son, who found his way down here after being bothered by a vagrant, and the man lost his arm, possibly as punishment. Then there was Demir, a merchant from Constantinople, who passed away. One of the carvings mentioned Iluas Corbon, a one-time jewel and one-time sword of the court of France. And then there was Tobias, a name I found somehow familiar, with only a mention that he fought as long as he could. Yet the most interesting and the longest wall carving I found belonged to someone whose name was not carved. They mentioned the stones that blind them no longer, and that they now see the stars in their perfect automation, the gears turning the artillery of the world, shattering the firmament above, but light seeps through the gaps. We are but specks of dust in the greatness that is yet to come. I had so many questions, and most will probably be answered when I get to the village, which is a couple of thousands blocks further west, especially that I had to deliver this letter I found in the Lazaret. So I lit up some torches and prepared for the storm still coming. And hey, in this update even sticks are finally stackable on the ground. Cool. Apparently there is more new items that stack this way. Wonder which ones apart from the sticks, honestly. But my excitement didn't last long, as the heavy temporal storm hit soon after that. Well, all I can do now is stay at home and pretend my hut is not made out of dirt. Well, you know how it is. While the gears of the artillery of the world are shattering the reality itself, I will just sit here, wait patiently for it to hopefully finish. Well, that was it for the Lazaret, and just as the name suggests, it was mostly a burial site, with some occasional people who ended up being not quite dead, making some unusual wall carvings. And what is the most interesting about them is that some of them mention real-world places like Constantinople, alongside many made-up places like France. After the storm was over, I packed up and left. Next station? The mysterious village. And the main question on my mind being, is there really a place where people just live normally? So as before, I traveled through gravel storms, through highlands, and through mountains, marshes and bogs, and whenever it was getting late, I was camping in the forest, just to start traveling yet again with the first light. I even started hunting wildlife along the way, just because my supplies were getting worryingly low. And after some time, I was just one mountain away from seeing the village, and traveling through it was an interesting experience, if a bit chilly. But now, the village was actually drawn on my map. It is much bigger than I expected. So I got off the mountain and it was absolutely huge. It's just gearing things. This is an actual village of just people. I've never seen something like this in Vintage Story before. What? No way. There's just people around. What is this place? Nadia is a village like any other. It is better, perhaps, than most, and worse, undoubtedly, than others. The village was beautiful. I have never seen anything like this in Vintage Story before, and I honestly had no idea this thing even exists. People just walking, doing their thing, each and every one of them having something to say. After talking to one of the villagers, I got to know that the name of the village is Nadia. There were even services like barbers, traders, smiths, all that goodness. But I was here on a mission. I approached a tavern called the Top Duckling, or maybe it's an inn, I have no clue what the difference is. I asked the people inside about the letter, and they pointed me to a woman who might know what this is all about. She told me the letter belongs to the old man, and the letter itself was a plea for help. I needed to head into a place approachably named the Devastation, where I will have to find a tower. At its peak lies something called the Lens, which I must then bring to the old man. I asked the woman about the Devastation, but she really didn't know much about it, or even where it might be located. But she did point me to Gerhardt, a hunter who might know a bit more. The woman did provide me with the map to the old man's dwelling though, Tobias's cave, a name that was carved in the Lazaret, the name of a man that is supposedly dead. So I decided that I might as well explore the village while looking for Gerhardt, you know? And the amount of detail, people just walking around, the way this village feels like a real medieval hold, it's just freaking cool, you know? Oh, they have actual guards just walking around. Oh, this is the granary, I think. The villagers just have their own houses here that you can just enter. And after a while of gushing over the architecture here, I managed to find the hunter, sleeping in his house. Sorry man, I need this info. What is the Devastation and where do I find it? Gerhardt told me that it is one of those places that is really hard to miss. Air is strange and metal grows from the ground. Yikes. After telling me that I should 100% not go there, he gave me the map. So now I have the location of the Devastation marked. I will totally not go there. Next day I spent mostly walking around and talking to the villagers. Most of them had stuff to say about their work, their opinions on this place, and how the life generally flows here. And yes, I bothered many sleeping villagers, nothing better than some outsider breaking into your house asking your how's life. But I also explored the fort here. It is beautifully created, and in its blocky kind of way it looks realistic. In the morning, I prepare for departure. I decided that before going to a place literally called the Devastation, I have to make some preparations. So I decided to go home and make the best items, the best armor, and the best weapons I can before heading out there. The journey of course took a while, and I revisited a couple of landmarks on my way, like my old dirt hut or the Stonehenge ruins, just for that little nostalgia hit. For you guys it's been minutes, for me hours since I've been here, you know? And hey, the most important landmark of all, the Limestone Hills, or a very steep beach or something. I decided to dig out as much limestone as I could, never know when I will run out of borax at home, so I better make actual preparations and bring a metric ton of this stuff. And after some time of digging, I had most of my inventory turn into limestone. And now again, the travel. I traveled through gravel highlands, sunset graveling hills, mountains sunken in sunlight glowing like diamonds in the sky, you know, the drill. I got home. How do I know? Because it's freaking raining. But everything is as I left it here. Almost frozen in time in a way. You know that feeling when you come back from vacations and that travel thingy hits you? Yeah, it feels kinda like that. I must have been away probably like 10 or something like that hours. But overall, everything seemed in order. Farm was slowly growing, apple trees are even bigger now, and bees are absolutely neglected. Still. In the morning I put all the limestone in the chest. and checked up on my mead, and it is ready to drink. Finally, I will save this for a special occasion for now. Then I took care of my animals, you know, feeding them for the first time in days, again. Then I continued tending to my household by checking up on my crops, milling some grain, checking my charcoal stockpiles, checking up on chickens, and hey, some of them hatched, small future feather dispensers. And then I tended and restarted my leather production in the attic. But hey, to finally start doing things the proper way, I need more space for chests. That's something I wanted for a long time now. So I headed to the mountains to gather some granite, and by some I mean a lot of granite. And then to my favorite clay deposit to gather some clay. And well, I guess I'm playing Stalker now. You know, with all those anomalies. Well, someone really doesn't want me to get this clay, huh? But I dug it anyway, so yeah, suck it, eldritch entities from the outer realms. And then, after having some starting materials, I started looking for a spot for my new warehouse building. And ultimately, I decided to start building on the west side of my property. I put some oak pillars to calculate the shape, and then started filling the walls with granite cobble. And there was a lot of walls to fill. So of course I actually didn't have enough granite for that. I guess I just kind of took it for granted that I will have enough. So I processed some iron and crafted a new iron pickaxe, and went to dig even more granite. And hey, my elk saddlebags are perfect for transportation of building materials. That was actually so worth it to craft them. And so I continued building, whether it is raining or sunny. Nah, just kidding, it was raining. Then I ran out of wood. But hey, with my elk on my side, I could literally travel however far I wanted for search for that perfect oak every time. That animal revolutionized my logistics. And so I continued building the oak skeleton with my favorite little fancy protruding logs for that cabin in the woods feel. And started filling up the roof, you know, so I don't drown. And then started preparations for flooring. Of course, on accident, uncovering an absolute eldritch abyss spawning quintillions of drifters, so yeah, I had to plug that thing. But overall, the building was going smoothly. Soon I will have a lot of storage space. And I think it looks okay as well. Maybe I'm not the Bob the Builder, but most of the stuff I do build looks more or less usable, at least. And as a break from building, I went to gather my crops. But then a bright idea hit me. Why not try using the scythe? And holy, it actually works. I actually never thought of that, but this is just so logical that it do work. Is it super faster? I don't think it is, but it does make me feel like a medieval peasant, so that's a plus. And hey, I have more grain that I can store actually. I won't be going hungry probably ever, unless they add random weather disasters to this game or something. And when it comes to flax, I also produced much more of it than I can use up now. But I can always use more mills, I guess. So I crafted 32 linen, and unfortunately I needed some animal fat. So I randomly found some lying somewhere somehow, no idea how that happened, and I added 2 more rotors and filled them to the max with sails. Now I have an omnidirectional mill. Wind direction doesn't matter anymore, just that it blows. And after that I continued filling up the roof of the warehouse. And simultaneously processing iron, since I am absolutely making some serious armor soon. And for that I will need about 1 billion trillion plates, each consisting of 2 ingots. Forge prison, here I come. But hey, I still have some time to put boards as my floor in the warehouse. All while I am technically getting abused yet again by crotch-heighted grey slab machines. And the last one. The most basic structure of the warehouse is done. And thank goodness for the health hammer. I could build all the stuff all while it was working on the plates and stuff. But hey, do you remember that bunch of fire clay I made 70 years ago? I'm making fire clay bricks out of that. And since they all need to be fired, I cut a bunch of grass, scissored sticks, and sanded the sand. Put the bricks in the sanded sand, covered with cut grass, sticked with the sticks, and wooded with firewood. And now I am firing the fire clay bricks in bulk. I will need a lot of bloomeries cooking iron over time right now. But since now I am going to have more bloomeries, thanks to the bricks, I will also need more iron to cook. So I rode to the place from the previous 100 days, somehow found my old mineshaft, and spent some time mining hematite, which by the way is still the most overpowered iron source in the game in my opinion. This one vein is currently lasting me for 2 playthroughs. Kind of crazy if you're used to Minecraft's mining system, no? But after a while I came back up and managed to hold 2 stacks of iron chunks. This should be enough. So I came back home and spent the rest of the day stuck on the anvil, making ingots. And hey, while I'm here I might as well make this place a bit nicer, no? So I chiseled a bunch of details for that dwarven look. Nothing crazy, but even small things like that make it so much more cozy here. Well, I still have to work on that mill, you know, for it to actually look like a mill. Like for instance, actual glass windows. And for that I decided to craft something special. So I made a pulverizer pounder, a pulverizer toggle, then made my way to the peridotite deposit and gathered a whole stone block by mining everything around it. And then immediately on the spot I made pulverizer frame. And while I was coming back from the peridotite cave, I noticed that my fire clay bricks are ready and fully fired. Well, perfect timing. Because now I connected the pulverizer and all its parts together, connected it to the mill ecosystem, and now I have a thing that crushes things into powder. And hey, I actually realized you can make 2 pounders, and now it pounds at a double the rate. Double the pounding, you could say. After that I went home and grabbed some quartz and put it under the double pounding pounders. And nothing. So apparently quartz requires pulverizer pounders tier 2. And for that I needed special caps to put on the wooden pounders. So maybe as an overkill I made 2 of them out of iron by hand and then put them on the pounders. And now it works beautifully. Regular quartz is being crushed, making it possible to fire it into proper glass. Finally I can use all the quartz instead of just the clear quartz for primitive windows. And honestly, with the whole automation here, the mill really seems alive right now. All this metal clanking and whatnot. Kinda cool. And all I had to do now was wait and make sure everything works as intended, automatically. And the crushed quartz, it's gonna have to be fired in the bloomeries, so I built a couple. So now more waiting, but this time while also cooking bread, because more bread is always good. And the life on this ranch was getting really busy and chaotic. I was cooking, tending to animals, constantly making leather, working the pulverizer and anvils, repairing all broken stuff. And yeah, neglecting bees is always busy work too. I was a busy man, you know, so many things to do, so little time. But now I had to craft some chests for the warehouse, and then put them in a very unsatisfying way alongside an even wall. Then made some signs, and also put them in a rather uneven way above all of those chests. And then I used charcoal to write stuff down, to mark which chest is for what. And hey, I have an actual mini depot now. And maybe the size of the building was a bit of an overkill after all, but hey, future-proofing, am I right? But now back to the forge. I decided that I actually have enough materials for a plate helmet now, so why not just craft it and see how it fits. So I combined chainmail armor with some leather and iron blades. And now I am 1/3 of a medieval knight, now back to work to make chest and legs armor. And since I'm walking non-stop from my house to the smithy, and from smithy to my house, I decided to sacrifice a small portion of my farm to make a small pathway here. And I actually think it looks kinda cool, especially with the new pathway model in this version of the game. And you know what, to hell with it, if I'm adding details around, I might as well fix this damn mill as well. So I spent some time cutting grass for the decals I'm about to add, and crafted some slanted roofs. And then a storm hit. I guess the eldritch gods really like the cubic nature of my mill. But you won't stop me, you ugly bastards. After storm, I climbed the mill and added the roofs in various places. And in the morning, ta-da, I think it looks pretty damn cool. Well, anything will look cooler than the raw squarity of the last version of this mill. And yes, I made it look so it looks a bit more medieval. God, I love medieval stuff, huh? The ranch/farm looks actually kinda warm and cozy now, with this mill overseeing the whole place like that. Nice. And the bloomeries are also ready with the glass. Can't ask for more perfect timing than that. So first I added windows to the storage building, to cut it off from the potential drifters and stuff completely. And then I started swapping the placeholder fence windows for actual glass. You know, in the mill. And finally the mill looks like an actual place. Not something a 10-year-old built in Minecraft. And since I deconstructed the bloomeries with glass, now I have a ton of fire bricks to make bloomeries for iron and continue my Sisyphean task of iron production for the plate armor. So iron bits to the cooker go. And yes, I am constantly making charcoal kilns to sustain this freaking warzone of a forge. And after that I decided to relax a bit by picking some berries off of my beautiful Italian vineyard and decided to bake some cakes, since they are a really powerful form of food, you know? And honestly, baking them is kind of fun too, especially when you put them against the windows like that in those, you know, like in the old cartoons. But now, anvil prison, I got more iron blooms and tirelessly worked them on the anvil. Hammering them while the health hammer does its thing makes it quite a bit faster than usual actually. And honestly, I was determined. I wanted to go back to the village, go to the Devastation, and meet the old man finally. Thankfully, the whole iron processing stuff was going quite fast. I guess having a huge windmill helps a ton. And while I was doing my daily leather checkup, I noticed I never really made pants for my new bear armor. So I quickly crafted them and put the whole thing on display. Collection completed. But hey, guess what? Iron working! Then charcoal shoveling, sleeping, iron working, pie making, iron working and eating pies. And then even more ironing and hammering and bim bam boom. In the morning, it wasn't raining. It was a grey, cloudy day. The Hellhammer was finally quiet, and my full iron plate armor was finally ready, both with iron oak shield and a brand new iron sword. I was finally ready, and while being ready, looking absolutely badass. This armor can protect me from absolutely anything, and even if it slows me down pretty extensively. But it doesn't matter. I was ready to go back in the saddle and face the devastation. I packed my things and got my elk ready. We're going back out there. So again, I left my homestead, traveled through dark of night, through snowy hills and valleys, past cold forests, through the familiar Stonehenge, now called Dirt Hut. And I tell you, I was freaking tired of this route already, goddamn. Isn't this like third time riding and holding W for hours? No, like seriously, god, actually my finger hurts. Maybe I should grab like a band-aid instead of poetically describing blocky grasslands and stuff. And hey look, it's the limestone thingy, I never even used it, so that was worth it, huh? But after getting through an even colder tall mountain next to the village, I finally actually got to my destination, the village. But I am just passing through. I need to resupply and make sure I have a spot to sleep before leaving further. So I spent the rest of the day really just kind of walking around. I didn't have enough daylight to make it to the devastation, so I guess I am stuck here for the moment. I did take refuge for the night in the top duckling though, and that is my last taste of civilization for now. Next morning, a grey sun reappeared on the horizon. The whole village looked really peaceful right now. Again, a calm before the storm. I left the duckling and immediately started freezing. Of course, I didn't take any cold clothes for an adventure that takes place in a late fall. I really did plan my travel like a true man, so I camped for a bit outside the village to regain my body temperature. And when it was fine, I started my travels again. The path to the devastation looked like any other. Scenic views of mountains and valleys, grasslands and marshes. And during the first night, I just dug a hole in a small dirt mound. This time I really had to look out to not freeze to death before getting there. So I really couldn't travel at night when the temperatures drop even lower. And in the morning I noticed something ominous. A sort of corrupted shadow in the distance. And it was huge. I really hope I am prepared. This doesn't look so good. I made my way closer and closer. And after crossing a small mountain chain, I was basically there. The corrupted lands of the devastation. And just as Gerhard said, the ground here is destroyed. Corrupted, evil, and various metal structures were protruding from it. But I needed to get in the middle of it. I needed to get to the Tower of the Old Man, the tower he wrote about in the letter. So I started making my way deeper and deeper, into the red-shifted abyss. But then I noticed something big flying towards me in the horizon. That is a fucking dragon. Where's my bow? That is insane, actually. Does he see me? Oh, he does see me. It's not really a dragon, it's like a iron, rusty robo-phoenix. Okay. Are you crazy? He has a Gatling gun or something with arrows? Dude. Him at least 5 times. Oh. God damn. You can now right click the time switch skill. Huh? Heavy locking bolts. Oh, I know, this is like Titanfall 2 kind of thing, no? No. Part, yes. And now we go back in time. Titanfall 2. Okay. Quartz. Candle stubs.
Oh my god. Okay, I was in the wrong place then. This is where we're supposed to go. Okay. Oh, this one is gone. Oh, we are going inside a pipe, I think. Oh, we are inside. We actually got inside now. We're in the main tower. He's really angry, huh? Yeah, thank the developers for the save system here. Okay, I think I'm higher now. Am I? Okay, like this, then like this, then like this, then like this, like this, like this. And we are higher. Oh no, I have to jump somehow through. Oh, okay. Sure. I'm 90%. I'm 90% sure that I'm supposed to just jump off of this balcony and phase. But there's always this 10%, huh? Oh my god, I had no idea if this is gonna work. Whoa, that was crazy. Nice, I made it. Okay, I managed. Okay, another checkpoint. God, this is crazy. Yep, okay. And I have no clue what to do now. This? No? Okay. I'm gonna put the armor on maybe. Oh my god, I'm so much slower though. I'm at the top. he running away? Okay, I don't know. Oh, I have the lens. What do I do with the lens? Well, I have the lens. I guess that's it? I guess? I'm not sure. I finally left the tower. I had everything I needed. I traveled back to the current day and made my way out on my trusty elk. But since it was dark, I needed to do my signature move. Dig into a wall and wait for the daylight while planning my next move. With the lens, I had to get to the Tobias's cave to deliver it, and it is quite close to the village as well. Then I realized that I could actually put the lens down, but there wasn't anything I could actually do with it. Still, I wonder what it actually is. At 5 AM I quickly resumed my travel, and as predicted, the main enemy was really the cold, and it was really cold. And when I got quite close to the cave, I decided to set up a small camp, just to regain strength. And this is supposed to be the mountain where Tobias lives. And after way too long, I managed to find a crevice in the side, which appeared to be the entrance. And while I was swimming, I saw glowing alchemical symbols drawn on the walls. Interesting. And at the end of the tunnel, there was a cave. I guess it's called Tobias's cave for a reason. I opened the huge gate and entered. And this was more than impressive. My man is living the dream here. And then I found the old man, finally, and he said he wasn't expecting visitors. He mentioned that I look different. He clearly knows me. Then he asked if I brought the lens. Apparently it was 5 centuries since he last saw it. Well, he really is old, huh? I continued talking to him, asking all the questions I could. Apparently the old man was an apprentice to Jonas Folks, who tried saving humanity from the rot, the sickness plaguing this land. I suppose they also built the archives then. He said that the lens is really a window that his master used to see another place in another time. He explained that this was a different world of strange landscapes, of towers and sharp edges, and metallic, rumbling beasts moving like clockwork. His master stole inspiration from that place, learned how to use flux and how to change the world, but it didn't work. Now the rot returns, plaguing the world yet again, despite already winning once, the end of the world after an apocalypse. And the old man tried replicating what to Jonas was coming naturally, an apprentice trying to fill the shoes of a genius. And apparently the devastation is one of the old man's experiments, a literal hole in the fabric of the world. And the crow? Well, that was, I guess, his pet of some kind, and it went mad. Not to mention, the rot ate on the limbs of the old man, and he had to replace his arm, leg and half of his face with machinery. I also asked him about me. What am I? Since he clearly knows me, knows what I am. He said I used to be human once. All of my kind used to be human. Now we, the lost who did not truly perish, wake up and walk this world. Seraphs, they call us. The old man also gave me the plans for a translocator, which is basically a teleporter. Cool. I finished my mission, and I have some of the answers. And hey, if you know more about the lore, or if I got anything wrong, comment and let everyone know. I am absolutely in love with the lore of this game, and I want to know as much as possible. But now, I went to the old man's storage area, and took some goodies from there. And hey, he has an actual eidolon. God damn, they are huge. Okay, we are leaving. There's nothing for me else to do here, I think. I made my way out of old man's dwelling and swam back to the surface. Time to go back. This time the story is finished, I think, and it is now time to get home. And since I really have no supplies left, and I have a long road ahead of me, I needed to pretty consistently hunt for food. Oh sh**. Whoa! I took a slightly different route to my home now, to not see the same 4 or 5 locations I always see, and this time I noticed bauxite, a stone I will need for steel making. Yes, I have steel in plans, so of course I mined out as much as I could, all while enjoying the view. And after that, more traveling of which I am absolutely tired of at this point. And yeah, the cold got worse, so that's cool, literally. And after some time I arrived at my homestead. I warmed up next to the stove, and finally I felt like I did what I had to do. The adventure is finally over. And there was even a pie waiting for me, since I burned it last time. It lasted for longer. Nice. I put some of the stuff I grabbed down, like this spear or globe I stole from the old man's house.
and put down my armor, hopefully for good now. It is a farmer's life for me now. And hey, this armor went through more stuff than my other one I wore so far, I think. Protected me very well. And before going to bed, I needed to cut up some firewood, because it is absolutely freezing here right now. And in the morning I noticed that my farm is probably not going to see any use anymore. Way too cold for most crops. But I also have to live somehow, so I took some money. And since my clothes are absolutely in terrible condition, I wrote to Kino, our old clothing merchant friend, and bought not only some new wintry clothes, but also a little something for my elk. So we match. Cool. And after getting home, I started my study on how to make steel. And for the oven where the steel is made, I will need refractory bricks. And those are made out of fire clay, but also of crushed bauxite, crushed quartz and crushed olivine. I have fire clay, quartz and bauxite, and olivine just so happens to be right next to my house. Just up there at the mountain, sitting, waiting to be mined, or actually it's called olivine, I think. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So I made my way up there and mined all of it, and I mean every single bit, all while looking down at my ranch from the top. Looks pretty cool. I should build something at the top here sooner or later, I think. Next day I looked into making mortar, since the bricks need to be connected somehow to make refractory brick blocks. So I just put some limestone in the quern to grind for the future mortar, and then I took fire clay bricks I still had and started cooking even more iron. Because guess what? I will need a ton of iron yet again for steel and parts of the steel furnace. So most of the time I will probably spend here, in the forge. I probably won't show all of it, but just know that I am. And pulverizer is also at work, crushing all the bauxite, olivine and quartz I need for the refractory bricks. So now I have this whole operation here, and believe me, this mill is really repaying itself right now. And since I needed the mill for anvil and pulverizer, I decided to steal one rotor and put it outside for the quern to permanently automatically mill the limestone and some grain whenever I need. So well, sure, this slows down the mill a tiny bit. It provides me with automated grinding at all times, which is much more important right now. And all that while I'm just munching on my homemade pies. And now, all I have to do is just non-stop tend to the smithy and pulverizer. The factory must go on or something like that. Especially that pulverizer is pretty tedious to deal with, manually replenishing each crushed thing pretty much every 2 seconds. It kinda feels like item delivery to the pulverizer could be automated, but I have no idea if that's possible. But after a while, 4 stacks of each material were pulverized and put into the steel making chest. And when it comes to the iron, I finally had enough ingots and started producing plates. In the morning I went outside and added exactly 4 liters of water into a barrel, then threw 16 quicklime, which is a cooked and milled limestone, and created slaked lime. Then I bought some sand from the local sand shop and I put it into the barrel here as well, creating mortar, and this amount should be more than enough. To the steel making chest you go. And after a while of smithing, I put all 16 ingots and 6 plates into the steel making chest as well. Then I needed to create a steel coffin, a special place where iron is being cooked into steel. So in the morning I went out and grabbed some full stone blocks from the local full stone block market, and all that stuff to the steel making chest go. And to take a short break from the resource gathering, I visited my chickens. And since I don't need as many arrows anymore, I grabbed some of the eggs, and for the first time ever, cooked them making scrambled eggs. Damn, if this homestead isn't the center of civilization, then I don't know what is. Next morning I finally made all the refractory bricks, and there is a lot of them. 4 stacks of bricks have to be fired, all while each hole holds only 12. So I put them all there, and over the next couple of painful in-game hours of grass and stick gathering, I started firing them. And honestly, that kind of looks insane, dangerous almost. And you can see all the fires from anywhere really. And in the forge I finally started making stuff for the steel furnace. So, steel door, 2 parts of the coffin, and the lids for both parts of the coffin. And since I really couldn't wait, I decided to finally try the mead I made some months ago. It is. Let's try at 9 AM. Whoa. It's kind of moving around. More. Oh, that's so cool. Whoa. Yep, I got drunk and first thing I did was to go to the most dangerous place in my homestead. But still, the drunkenness is really fun and all the effects surrounding it, you know. Was the mead worth it? Yep, yes it was. And honestly, it lasted way longer than I thought. Funnily enough, I couldn't stop being drunk, so I just kinda had to work while drunk. Peak Slavic genes, you know? I picked up the refractory bricks since they are finally ready, and made some more things needed for the construction of the furnace. like those gratings here. And since I have everything I needed to start, I began the building. I put the grating down and the stone coffin on top of the grating, and now shift-clicking the coffin actually spawned a ghost plan of the whole construction. Oh, that's a first. Never seen that before. So I started from the bottom layer and slowly filled up all the spots from there. The whole thing is not super complicated to build actually. After the outside construction was done, I put in the metal doors. Then I put some charcoal and ingots in the coffin, in layers. Some charcoal, then some ingots, then charcoal, then ingots, you get the idea. And then I enclosed the thing with the coffin lid. And underneath the whole furnace I added the fuel, pure charcoal. And although I did have some issues stacking it up without it ending everywhere, and that's a design flaw I'm going to have to fix. I borrowed some dirt from the outside quern mill thingy and constructed a small coal holder for the furnace. Still spilling all over the place, but a bit less, I think. Rome wasn't built in a day, nor was it built in two. But after I got the charcoal to stack properly, I ignited it. And yes, it works. See the sparks? Works like a charm. Now all I had to do was wait around 6 days for the thing to fire. God, I'm going to burn through so much coal. A bit later I chiseled a slightly improved coal holder thingy. Now it shouldn't spill at all. I hope. I tested it and yep, nice, holds up. And now I kinda have nothing to do. I'm kind of bound to the house since I have to replenish the coal all the time, but I have an idea for a small adventure that shouldn't take too long. Remember that Bell dungeon? Well, I have a grudge against that freaking Taco Bell-ass cave-dwelling loud-ass thing. So I took a ride on my taxi elk and then looked for the entrance. Mind you, it's been a while for me. Thankfully, the glow of the locusts is kind of hard to miss. And fighting went as expected. Armor took most of the damage, and locusts and potential drifters really cannot do much against me. I was actually Iron Man. I also destroyed some of their locust nests, so I'm not sure if that's a thing I'm supposed to be doing, but hey, why not? And wow, I also found actual salt. This is a huge thing for food preservation. I kinda wish I found it earlier, to be honest. But then, a familiar sound. The bell is here. I found it. I'm not sure what the bell actually does, whether they spawn more enemies or make them stronger or whatever, but I was actually getting my ass absolutely handed to me. I literally had to retreat several times. But despite low health, I decided to risk it all. I ran and ignored all the damage and just shot as many arrows as I could, one of them actually silencing the bell for good. Revenge completed. Now new objective is to survive with 2 peeps of health and a bunch of enemies chasing me no matter where I go. Of course, first thing I did was to make the wrong turn and waddle around in this cave on low health looking for exit, but after a while I managed to find the right tunnel and started slowly to climb out. Well, that was an experience, huh? Even my armor took a beating there, to be honest. I came back home victorious, even if a bit beat up. And now I'm putting this armor down for good. Enough of those young people activities for one playthrough, I think. A bit later I looked up how to make iron anvil, because it is needed for steel work. The steel, which is still cooking, that is. So I reconnected the hammer one more time and started making plates for the anvil. I even got a small upgrade. I made another forge to heat up twice the amount of material. Then I checked up on steel and it is 29% complete. Actually, can't wait for this to finish. Then I updated the game to the newest beta build, and my clothes are now invisible. Whatever, I can continue being naked. It's fine. Well, naked and slowly going insane due to a temporal storm. Hey, I don't like where this is going. And since I don't like wasting time, I also continued my iron anvil stuff during the storm. Because, why not? Still want temporal forge itself, no? After the storm ended, I got attacked by a double-headed drifter. Not sure if I've ever seen this kind before. He did drop some unusual stuff as well. Damn, this is some good loot. But I finally started making the bottom of the anvil, and then the top of the anvil, and then I put borax in between them, and hammered both parts together until they insta-cooled down. And now I officially have an iron anvil, ready for service. So now I decided that I needed to do something special, just for me. So I crafted a new iron pickaxe and rode south to grab some granite. Then, on accident, I uncovered this monstrosity. Yikes. But nothing valuable was there to really loot. So I just kind of stole their walls, since I need granite cobble anyway. And I just kind of spent the entire day there, just mining regular granite. And since I also needed full blocks, I mined some in checker pattern, to grab as many as I can and as efficiently as I can. You're gonna see for what. I came back home and polished some of them with a hammer and a chisel. Then turned them into slabs, and the slabs into ashlar blocks. And then the next morning I combined the ashlar blocks with mortar to make granite ashlar blocks. which are a bit more pleasant to the eye. And from the rest of the granite stones, I crafted regular cobble. And then I took a moment to look for a suitable place to build something a bit more special. And then I found it. The view from the mountain is really good. Why not build something nice there? So next morning I climbed up. It was a bit chilly, but I barely noticed, and started preparing the ground for building. I evened out the terrain and put my first oak logs, since I really like how they look. I decided to build in a 5x5 style, since it is easier this way for someone who really doesn't build like that much. I filled up the walls with granite cobble, and did the same for the flooring. And since the basic tower is here, I wanted to get down from the mountain to see how it looks like and if the spot is okay. And it seems more than okay. A little cliffside castle will do very nicely here. But while I was down here, I noticed one of the bricks looked a bit destroyed. So I decided to open up the furnace to check what's going on, and the steel just cooked. It is ready to use. So I broke the coffin excitedly, and from there I got blister steel. It's an unrefined steel type and has to be worked on an anvil similarly to iron blooms. So I'm going to have to clean it up a bit later. But I really wanted to finish this building before starting my steel processing. And honestly, it was going alright. Not much to talk about here. I added some details here and there, filled up the insides of the towers, added a little connector between the two, put down some medieval whatever you call them, and the walls of my little castle were done, even if I did 100% of the work naked. Next morning I started building the little keep. For that I used a mix of granite and ashlar blocks for texture. Then I added a little hut at the top, and inside I made the floor out of simple oak boards. I finished up still empty walls, and my little summer castle was done. Hey, I know it's nothing impressive, but I like the idea that at the end of the day, I finally had enough resources to actually spend on some more lavish project than usual. Because many people say that Vintage Story is more of a survival game than a building game, and I say it can be both, even if it takes a little bit more effort to turn it into one. But for me, the fact that even this simple castle took a lot of effort and materials to make, makes it so much more valuable to me. And it just looks so freaking cool, even if it's only for show. Next morning I started working the steel, and processing it very similarly to iron blooms, chipping away at the excess material. And while doing that, I also used my second forge to process the already usable steel at the same time. I of course began with a steel pick, because that's a symbol of block games. Then I continued with a steel axe, a steel sword, and a steel shovel. And ladies and gents, this is the first time I've ever created steel anything in my Vintage Story journey. We are witnessing baby's first steel toolset, and as if sent by the eldritch gods themselves, a wolf decided to wander into my homestead at the perfect time. And steel sword 3 shots a wolf. This is pure bliss. Not to mention the absolute durability difference between the iron one and the steel one. This is for sure some luxury material right here, huh? Next morning I left my house and saw the castle in its full glory. Just wow. And holy, I just remembered I made bows like 50 years ago. Whoops. So I crafted all 8 bows. What will I do with 8 bows, you ask? Well, I will make my way to the castle and make my little armory here, in case they ever add hireable NPCs to the game or something. I will have my own little army here, I guess. And damn, the view is really nice here though. This was a good idea. I came back down and called my elk. I plan on going shopping now, so I mounted up and rode to the nearest trader. This guy, well, he didn't have any of the luxury stuff I want, so I made my way further, to our old friend Vox Nora, the treasure hunter I bought the elk from. And from him I decided to buy a little painting, to commemorate my adventures. Then I made my way to the luxury trader, but he ultimately also didn't really have anything of value to me, and while I was riding off into the distance, this happened. So, whoops. No! Are you serious? Well, that would suck if not for the teleportation properties of elk. Calling them with the flute actually causes them to magically appear almost from whenever. So no worries, this is not one of those stories where the pet dies. I made my way to another last trader, since I saw him in the dark from far away, and he sold my favorite winter clothing, so I bought it. But I forgot this version of the game still doesn't show clothes, so yeah, still naked. I came back home and put the painting in the weirdest place possible. I kind of like it though, fishies. And the next morning I woke up to a weird sound outside. It was 2 of my now adult roosters fighting for the alpha status, I guess. That's actually kinda cool. But I really didn't have any direction now, and still I was a couple of days away from the full 200 days. And this was the moment where my fiancée came in and wanted me to show her around in my Vintage Story world. so I decided that this is probably the best natural ending to this playthrough, showing off everything I've built to the person I care about the most.
Okay, so this is my mill that is powering the hammer here.
And then this. Oh, die.
Yeah, and it does.
It's stuck.
And I can crush this, put it here, and it's gonna crush it.
Where does it go?
Here. In front.
Push it out.
I don't have a dog. I have an elk. Wait, I'm gonna call it. You do like ooh ooh ooh.
How?
Ooh ooh ooh.
And then when you're hungry and cold, you can just eat him and
He had like a friend. I have a globe that I looted from somewhere.
He's trying to...
Some paintings. Some paintings.
What the He got in.
I have an oven.
What? The moon is so ugly.
What do you mean ugly? They just added. It doesn't look funny. It's like this because it's in a weird phase right now. But they just...
You're in a weird phase right now.
Okay, this is my castle. It is absolutely unfinished, and if anybody ever attacked me from the back here, they would just walk
I'm
in.
not gonna live there.
It's supposed to scare off
There's
my
nothing
enemies.
there.
No, there's absolutely nothing here.
Wait.
There's a bit of this. But I did like those little like medieval thingies.
You always do them.
You can
Jump.
see my house from here.
Oops,
What do you mean
sorry.
jump? Because I forgot that I made so many and I just had to bring them here. And if ever I'm going to be a general at this castle and having an army, they're gonna be able to
You're ever
shoot.
gonna need a bow, you're gonna forget that you have like 6 of them here and you're gonna make a new one.
Yeah.
Oh.
And now I'm gonna do the trick I do for the last since I got my elk.
Oh.
He's a magical elk. Teleport elk, I said.
He's magic.
Magic? He doesn't like it. He's like,
Like magic.
I chiseled this. I did chisel it. Yeah.
Very pretty.
This is
Very impressive.
even he
And
likes it. I did like a
It's
little.
little
Yeah.
gem there, you would put it there. It would be like glowing. from the
I
far
can't
away.
make jam because I don't have any berries.
Gem. You have a carpet.
Yeah, it's a.
I want a mouse pad like this.
Listen, I
It's hard
could.
to notice.
If I
Easy
had
to
more
miss.
money, I would buy a bigger one.
It's
I hope you all enjoyed my little adventures in Vintage Story, but this world has come to a natural conclusion. Sure, there is more things I can do, more things I can build, and more things I can explore, but this story is finished. Because all things end at some point. I have achieved everything I wanted to achieve, I've explored everything I wanted to explore, and I have created a small farmhouse that survived the test of almost 200 days. Thank you all for watching. I hope you had a good time, but this is my elk stop.